Hello and welcome back to the Cocked Dice. In this week's conversion video, I'm tackling a Chief Apothecary, obviously for my Blood Ravens chapter. So let's take a look at the parts we're going to be using in tonight's conversion. So this is broadly based around just two models. One is the Ancient from the Indominus box set. I really like the robes and the kind of ancient feel to this. We're going to do some changes on the arms and obviously give him a bit more of an apothecary feel. The next major component is the backpack and arms from Fabius Bile, just to give him a bit of a different look to the kind of standard apothecary. And then the cross bottom here, I've got a variety of different arms. I'm not quite, because I can't test fit the arms on this model because he's got arms and I've not cut them off yet. I've just grabbed some spare arms from various Space Marine kits. I've got a couple of heads. I'm not sure which one's going to look best. One's from, I think, a Grey Knight kit, and the other is Deathwatch off the top of my head. I didn't have a spare apothecary shoulder pad in my bits box, so I've grabbed this Blood Angel one. It's got some blood drips on. It'll look perfectly suitable. Then obviously I'm going to have a plain shoulder pad for his other side, on which I'll add a Blood Raven symbol. So first big job is get everything cleaned up, and then we're going to get the arms off this model. So first of all, we're going to have to remove the arms from this Ancient. This arm's pretty easy. We're going to take it obviously at the top there. I can take the shield off, so that's just all going to come off. In fact, there we go. Don't need that. This side is generally attached there, so just measure up against the front. We don't want to cut too far into the back of his body. We are going to drop on Fabius Bile's staff, walking stick arm onto this side. So we want to take it back far enough that I can get this walking stick under the shoulder there. So you can kind of see where we want to cut to. So we'll leave the front. In fact, I'm going to cut through both while it's together. So you can either use a hobby knife or a saw for this. I'm going to take it around about the shoulder joint there. If I need to trim a bit more off, I'll trim a bit more off. We'll just cut straight through. Like so. And now I'm going to start just trimming off layers of this to try and get back to the main bit of armour. As you're trimming down, as usual, just test fit the parts you want to fit on every now and again and see how they're working. So as you can see here, I've got the cane resting on the base here and it looks to be fitting fairly well. Now I'm likely going to have to trim down this little area here and a little bit around the back here so that I can fit a shoulder pad on neatly, and the cloak, is it a cloak? No, cape, cowl, whatever this bit is here. Looks like it fits neatly under the shoulder pad, so I'll drop the shoulder pad off, I'll split this back in half, and I'm just going to trim down this just a little bit. So as usual, just take a knife, very carefully, work your way into this a little bit. I'm going to try and keep some of the shape, just reduce it down, and then we'll test fit a shoulder pad. So that seems to fit pretty well together. I'm going to get this guy stuck together. So let's glue the two halves of him together and pop him on a base, so we've got something a bit more stable to work on. So now he's on a base, we'll just add his cane arm on, and that gives it all a little bit of time to dry. So that's his main bit of his body and cloak done. We'll pop him to one side, and I'm going to start working on this arm. Now before I put him to one side, actually, I'll do this. So I'm going to leave this hand. Because it's kind of hunched up, I don't think it's worthwhile trying to trim this down and fit the Primaris arm to it. I am going to just trim off that little bit of chaos iconography on his elbow. However, I'll leave his gloves as they are. I think they just look suitably ancient. Because this is from Fabius Bile and he's not a Primaris Marine, it is obviously shorter than a Primaris Marine arm. It is only shorter by 1 millimetre or 2, but you'd be amazed at how obvious that is on the model. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut his gauntlet off at the elbow. I'm going to trim this arm probably around here to begin with, and we'll work backwards just a little bit. It literally needs 1 millimetre or so extra space on it and it'll look fine. This arm's also perfect because it leans out from the body a little bit, So we're going to give him a little more dynamism. So he's going to be pointing in this diagonal direction rather than kind of looking forwards, and we'll turn his head to look this way as well. So he's stepping on a rock, shooting this way. So we're just going to cut straight through here at the elbow. I'm going to use the lower side of the glove because they're a slight angle, just to get a straight edge on it, like so. I'll cut through the cabling because I don't want it. And then on this top side here, in fact I'm going to leave that absolutely straight for now. I'm trying to level it up on the other side. As you can see on the other side I've not quite cut it to the glove. I'm going to try and just level it out a little bit. There we go. I think this bit looks a little too chaotic, having the cable coming out of his hand. So I'm just going to trim that off with a knife and then smooth over the area on his hand here. And then on his Primaris arm we're going to cut, I'm going to do it this way around, I'm going to cut at the top of these two little markers here. Again, just take a knife, we're going to make a nice straight cut through the arm. We can see he's actually pointing it down slightly there, so I need to trim this way on this a little bit. This is probably the easier one to cut. You can see how much extra space we've made. We've made about 1.5 millimeters, and he's got a bit of a longer arm. So I'm just going to sand this back and level it off a little bit, and same with this side, just to give it a little bit more of a better fit, and then we'll get this on the model. So before I stick the arm on, I've got one other tweak to do, and that's with his top of his backpack here. So his backpack's obviously going to sit on this platform here. Now Fabius Bile has this little additional part here, these kind of canisters of some sort, and they want to fit on there, so I need to just trim this back a little bit. So just at the top of this, just cut back into there a little bit, take that pipe off there. There we go. As you can see, I've removed the little connector there and the area around the back, so we've got plenty of space to play with. So I'm going to get his arm glued on now, and we can start seeing the position. And that has a little bit of time then to go off whilst I do some work on building the backpack. Now, as usual in these conversions, you want to just have a good look around the model. So you can see here his gun's pointing a little high, so we're going to just twist this arm down like so. I'm just going to straighten the gun up a little bit, so it's pointing upwards like that. So as we can see with this comparison, Fabius Bile's backpack is a lot more chaotic in styling. Now if you're particularly confident or have all afternoon, you could potentially remove the arms from this and add them to a standard Primaris backpack. So I'm not going to use the Primaris style backpack, I'm going to use Fabius Bile's. Now it obviously does look a little bit chaotic, but I do think that kind of adds to the idea that this is some sort of Heresy era or older Dark Age of technology kit. So having a look at this, what we're going to do is identify the obviously chaos parts. So you can see here there's a little arrow pointing down, and these ending in these little tails. So what we're going to do is just take a knife and very, very carefully just trim this back like that. These are quite small pieces, so you just have to take your time, make sure you've got a nice sharp scalpel with a small blade. Trim it off like that. And then with these diagonals here, because I don't like that tail, I'm going to square it off bottom just by cutting down to the next layer. Same in this direction, just going straight across, following the line of the backpack, cutting diagonally across, and then just taking that little piece out like that. And again, cleaning up with the knife as best you can. And it's the same on his front of his backpack here. I say the front, the bit that's facing his body. We've got these little chaos spikes here and here. Now I'm just going to do the same again. I'm going to take a knife straight across this level here and then cut down, just trim them off. There are obviously other ones. There's one here. I'm not going to try and get my knife into there. I don't think it's worth it. I think the cables are cool enough that they can stay, and to be honest, once you put the big injector things up here, then you're not going to be able to see much of this anyway. So I think I'll leave that backpack as it is now. For the arms for the backpack, all I'm going to do on these is I'm going to remove the spikes. So just very carefully take your knife and run it against the flat of the arm, mechanical arm here, and then just once you've done that, just run your knife along it, smooth it off a little bit. There we go, that's looking distinctly less chaotic. I'll do the same on the other arm and then we'll get it put together. So now this has been dechaosified, we're going to pop it together basically as per the instructions. So this is why you should always test fit, and I haven't. I'll take this side out very quickly. So yeah, looking at it, I want it to follow the line of the bolt pistol a bit more. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to trim this off here straight across. Then we'll test it once again. It's too far. That's better. That's definitely more of what I wanted there. Then we're just going to glue the skulls and injectors straight onto here. So I think in Fabius Bile's instructions, you actually glue this to the backpack, then you put to the back of the model, and then you put the backpack on it. However, I'm going to leave this separate to make it a little easier to paint, because I'm not insane, and we'll glue that on later. So I'm going to pop this to one side and let it go off now, because that's pretty much built. Then we're going to return to popping some shoulder pads on this model and then just fixing this area around here. To fill this hole here, that's usually taken up by a shield, which is this one here. This actually covers over a lot of the body here as well, and I don't really want to do that. So again, I'm going to go back to Fabius Bile's kit, and this is the little piece off his chest, and we're going to drop that in there instead, and then just rework that wire so it fits. So I do need to trim these wires back a little bit, cables back a bit, but we'll squeeze that in there like that, make it fit. Once that's dried, we'll bend these in just a little bit and get them to connect to his armour here. And that puts that arm in sort of the right place. On his other side, because I still like the Indominus shields and I'll always use them for everything I can, we're going to stick the Indominus shield. That saves us doing much clean-up work around the cowl, cloak, shoulder piece. So we'll just pop that on there. And to fill any spare spaces on him, you can essentially add any technological trinkets you fancy, like this one here, which is just going to sit on his belt, hanging down. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with this Grey Knight head. Quite simply, it looks a little bit older. I think it's probably the thing. So it looks more veteran, older. The kind of extra pipes and stuff coming out of his head makes him look like he's got some sort of extra medical implants, kind of help him do his job. There's just a level of wisdom in this head that I don't think was in the other one. So whilst I have a couple of areas to clean up with a bit of green stuff, and I've still got these to sort out, and I'll probably add some more purity seals to him because I always like purity seals, he is essentially done. So I'm going to finish him off, I'll get him painted up. You, however, can hang on a minute and see him coming up right now. And thanks for joining us here at the Clock Dice. Why not like this video and add a comment below? It really helps boost the channel. And while you're at it, if you click on the icon below, you can subscribe to the channel for all the latest updates as soon as they're live. Why not check out some of our other videos and playlists? You can click on the ones on screen right now. Take care, and we'll see you next time.